We're only 12 minutes in. Thank you so much for your patience. I hope you stuck around. If you're watching the recording because you had to go, totally understand that, but appreciate your patience with us here as we troubleshoot the many things in the tech world. You'd think that AI would have sorted this out by now. In any case, welcome everyone. This is your official welcome to Scaling Asana Across Teams, Improving Alignment with Multi-Tool Workflows. Whether you are new to integrations or you're knee deep in your different tools, this session and our goal is going to be to give you some real world examples, a look into what works when you're trying to get Asana to work better for you. We're going to be talking about a few different scenarios and then our different experiences around integrations to give you some stuff that you can take away today and apply right away to your work. So I'm going to take just a second here to introduce myself and my partner here. My name is Marquis Murray. I'm the founder and CEO at Surface, and we are a systems improvement consultancy. And so what that means for us is we help teams get the most out of their tools that they're already paying for, whether it's Asana or Salesforce or Jira, whatever it may be. We want to help you get the most out of your technologies. That includes workflow automation, process automation, training that your team actually can use and apply in their day-to-day. And so Asana is one of our key partners. That's why we're here today to talk about the integration with our other partners, Unito. And so we are proud Unito partners. And if you've ever struggled with visibility between teams or wondered how to scale your Asana without duct taping different tools together, then you're in the right place. And so I'm joined today by my partner again, Chaya, who I'm going to pass over to her to introduce herself.
Marquis,
Chaya, over to you.
thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging in there with us. I'm Chaya, and I'm a technical solutions consultant. I work with a variety of organizations, helping them implement and scale technical solutions. I'm super excited to be here with Marquis. Thank you so much for, starting this off and, getting us through those technical challenges. Really excited to be here and talk about how integrations can help drive impact. So let's be honest, most teams are really juggling more tools than time these days. And in the work that I've seen, teams using HubSpot, maybe Jira, Outlook, Slack, Google, and Asana on top of that, right? And they all each serve a purpose on their own, but without a robust integration, Asana becomes just another siloed tool, instead of actually being the source of truth. So when Asana isn't integrated, your team ends up working harder, not smarter. Resources get wasted on manual entries and follow-ups, and data really gets stuck in silos. When I worked with the marketing team at HubSpot, we rolled out Asana at scale. At that time, it was a team of 450 people that we were rolling it out to. And they decided that most teams were going to move into Asana, but there were a few exceptions. And those exceptions ended up creating a really dire need to look into integrations for, during a migration. The web development team, they were working in Jira, and the academy team had set up their whole database in Airtable. And that really, really required a robust integration into Asana. So being able to, find a tool that we can easily and quickly roll out at scale, avoid having siloed information, and creating more work for the teams that were moving to Asana. It really brought us out in the open market to look at all the tools. So if this sounds familiar to you, please let us know if any of these pain points are resonating with you. But these were some of the challenges that we were looking at when going into Asana. So I kind of already alluded to these challenges that we face. The excitement for Asana really took off for so many reasons, right? You can go in, you can, create a project, create a whole intake, but what happens is when you have teams that are really passionate about where they want to work, it really does create opportunities or challenges for how you're going to efficiently be able to work together without creating more work, right? These tools are supposed to save us time. So back in 2022, when the marketing team was rolling out Asana, and back then, Jira integration in Asana wasn't nothing like it was today, right? One way, and it really was just like a little logo with a link, and you'd click on it, and then you'd end up, opening up Jira, right, to look at the issue and the details in there. So very, very limited. And so for really high performing teams, it's just not accessible. And that's what we were faced with. So I don't know if I would ever do that again, where we were looking into integration solutions while we were in middle of the migration. Currently, I'm doing one and purposely waiting until post-migration to even begin scoping, because you don't want to get too mingled in at, all at once. Sometimes you just need to move quickly. And, we did find the tool here, Unito, to help us with that challenge. So, Marquis.
All right. So for us, when we're working with our different customers, I mean, it's nice to see the light bulb really go off when we're talking about a need to sync tools, to sync information across different teams. And so I can recall there were a few customers who the example was their dev team was working in Azure DevOps, and then their marketing team was working inside of Asana. And so the workflow might have kicked off in Asana, and the marketing team is, going through the different stages of a campaign build, let's say, and then they get to the point where they need to create a landing page. And then the problem was the dev team doesn't want to work inside of Asana. They're used to working within the tool that they're used to working in. And so we're able to, in these cases, create integrations and two-way syncs where information from the marketing team was then able to be transported over to the dev team inside of, in this case, Azure DevOps. So from covering tickets and syncing information to being involved in multi-channel or omni-channel campaigns, we've definitely seen teams, take up integrations at scale. And so for us, Surface works with a lot of marketing teams, right? We see these challenges all the time. Common problems that we often will see are that one, they're using just too many tools, right? We have this tool bloat, so to speak. And so they're trying to introduce all this new technology, thinking this new tool is going to solve our problems. This new tool that boasts this very specific solution is going to help us. And we end up spending more on these different tools only to see adoption either stagnate or decline. Along with that, there's too many manual updates. We see a lot of humans, a lot of people, and AI is going to solve this. We're all going to lose our jobs, right? No, we're not. We're seeing a lot of manual updates where people are having to press a button or insert a link or notify someone by entering in a comment. And so that introduces a lot of potential errors, opportunities where things can fall between the cracks. And then the third biggest problem we often will see is that there's just a lack of visibility into the status of work. Where do we look to get a status update? We're having to chase people down time and time again. And then we're also wondering what sources can we really trust here. And so what we kind of want to bring home today is that integrations really do solve for that. They create a unified system without having to switch tools. Each team and department can stay within their respective tools, and we can trust that the software, the integrator in this case, or the aggregator of that information, will become our source of truth. This allows us to move our campaigns faster, right, when the systems are talking to each other. And with our integrations, they're really able to bridge the gap between these different teams. And so one example I'll give you here is that one of our customers at Asana, Awin, was able to create a 4-day work week by eliminating a lot of these redundancies and a lot of this human interaction where there were a lot of manual, just like touch points. So a company, think of 1,200 plus employees, 17 global offices, made a simple integration change where they integrated Asana with Microsoft Teams. This eliminated their different scattered communications, so between teams, email, right, dropping a link in SharePoint and expecting people to get an update knowing it's there. This helped them to automate system updates and task handoffs to make work easier. This also helped them to reduce time spent chasing information. And with the Asana and Microsoft Teams integration, we know that You can sync tasks over from Teams to Asana, or you can be notified of an update inside of Teams when something happens in Asana. And then you can also embed your Teams, your Asana project, forgive me, inside of a Teams channel. And so this is one of the ways that integrations do help us, right? We're not expecting everyone to move to a 4-day work week here, but we can see that integrations do truly make our work better and make our work easier.
Thank you so much, Marquis, for sharing that story. That really resonates with me as well. So, these lines really show a walkthrough path of people taking action to integrations today. Really, going back to when we were scoping out solutions at HubSpot, right? When we're looking for that solution, we need something that we can really scale quickly, something that we can adopt. Personally, I had to go around quite a bit trying to advocate for this tool. Internally, I was told to look into Ricardo, and that sounded great, but I didn't have Ricardo experience. And at HubSpot, there is this, really long process for becoming certified and being able to get access to that production environment before you can even start creating anything recipe in Ricardo. And that's like a very, very complicated, it's not coding, but it's, really takes some time to take on. And so that really wasn't feasible for me. I needed something that I could understand, that I could go in and manage all of the other work involved with Asana implementation. And at the same time, it was another cost that the marketing team really didn't account for, even though they still wanted these two teams to work in their own systems while mandating everybody else work in Asana. So, these were all those things that we really needed to consider. And it really led us to, when looking at the other solutions out there, including Ricardo and Zapier, really led us to Unito. It really, for us, solved what we needed, and we needed it right away. Thank you. So here, oftentimes we see those apps, right? And we get, how excited do you get? You're like, oh, they have an app for this, right? Google Calendar, and you add it, and it sounds great. And then after a few days, it's like, I'm not really getting much value out of this, right? So that's often what I see happen, right? You'll add a lot of apps, and then when they're not actually working like you intend, you end up going and searching for a better solution. Going back to my story with HubSpot, we knew right away when we looked into it that it wasn't the right solution. Like, again, not syncing subtasks, not syncing attachments. It didn't even sync information back then. Again, it was just the link, so you actually wouldn't have a full sync. It was a one-time sync. So now it's better for some of the tools, but it's still not two-way for many of the tools. If a lot of our personal work that we manage works great for, but the minute you want to start using these integrations to really create some robust workflows, that's where we tend to get blockers that, again, have us looking for other tools. So, any of those pain points, we love to hear about them. Drop them in the chat. And also, we haven't called out yet. Please also drop your questions. We love questions. I think I'll let you take this on, Marquis.
Yeah,
okay.
That's perfect. Thanks, Chaya. So want to start talking about, integration platforms, thinking about what makes a good platform worth using and why you'd want to investigate this more than anything. And so for me, it really comes down to three things. You see them here on the screen. I'm going to go through them kind of one by one. But for me, when I'm looking for an integration platform, I'm looking for something that's fully configurable, no code or even low code. Not everyone's a developer, including myself. And so it creates this like higher barrier to entry when you have a tool or you have a need, I should say, that requires some kind of integration and you don't have the skill set to apply it, right? And so if you're in a marketing ops and you either don't have access to a dev team or you have an IT team that supports you with this, but their backlog of tickets is a mile long, you're going to be lower on that priority list. So I want to be able to get in there and start configuring right away, right? This should be easy to set up. I want to get in, I want to map on my different fields, I want to create my different conditions, and then I simply want to let it run. And so what I'm really looking for is, and what you should be considering, is something where you can connect it, configure it really simply without writing a single line of code. Number two for me is two-way sync out of the box. Now there are a lot of tools that will boast that they are two-way sync out of the box. And I know we haven't actually said the name just yet. We're obviously talking about Unito here. And that's one of the reasons why we decided to become a partner of Unito, was because what they were boasting was actually true. You open it up, it is easy to configure. It has two-way sync out of the box. And so this enables easy data flow both ways. A lot of other tools that say they can do two-way sync, really what they're doing is they're creating opposing rules that are carrying information in separate directions, and we're trying to keep them in sync as they pass each other, but that doesn't always happen in the best way. With the platform we're talking about today, Unito, there are real-time updates on both tools. So earlier I spoke about the one source of truth that you can trust. That's the aggregator, right? And so we can always trust that the data that's happening, the data that's passing through, and information that's being updated on either side is truthful and is the most accurate or up-to-date information. And the last thing we want to know, especially for our customers, is that this can be extended to enterprise use cases and can be scalable for an organization. So we're often brought the question of, is this secure? Can I trust this tool, right? And so we know that Unito doesn't store any of that information. It holds it temporarily as the information is being passed through, but that is a big concern of a lot of enterprise teams, right? And so we always want to consider that. And we want a tool as well that can handle multiple teams, multiple tools, not just has a one-to-one relationship, but a one-to-many relationship when updating fields and doing any kind of mapping. And then lastly, gives more confidence to our IT and leadership teams. And for me, I want something that doesn't break the budget, plain and simple, right? And so whether you are a smaller team getting started with integrations and automations, or you're a larger organization, you obviously have cost concerns, especially in this day with the current climate. But we're going to show you what that can look like kind of in real time. And so what I'm going to do here is we're going to show you a demo here shortly, and then I'm going to hand it back over to Chaya. But as far as, real life, day to day, what this can look like, for me, we see a lot of teams that are in either marketing or sales organizations. So I can think of one customer where their sales team was in Salesforce, right? And so they're working through their pipeline, but they needed to work and be informed of what the marketing team was doing, because they were working on this multi-channel campaign where the sales team was trying to sell to partners and trying to gain sponsorships, and then the marketing team would take that information and would build out this campaign and make decisions as the deal progressed. And so we're able to create an integration between Salesforce and Asana that when the pipeline was updated, or the stage and opportunity was updated in the Salesforce pipeline, it then informed the marketing team that they are ready to kick off the next portion of the campaign and build on from there. So that's one example, in addition to the one earlier, of different ways that we can use integrations, and more specifically, Unito. So Chaya, I know you had an example of, a marketing and web dev team. Did you want to share that one?
Yeah, so in addition to the one here where they were working on getting specific landing page criteria, what really stood out also was the ability for project managers to be able to communicate with those web development teams in Jira. That's really where we saw the impact, and they were the loudest advocates as well, right? And so we do tend to, we want to help all of our internal clients, but the ones that are very passionate, end up driving a lot, right? And so the amount of time that it would take for them to have to get their updates from Jira manually, and because marketing had officially adopted Asana as the project management system, it was also where all executive reporting was being organized in. And so it requires these individuals that sat on teams where some people worked in Asana, but they also had these other teams like web dev that, were in Jira and they weren't going to be out of Jira. So, what do you do at this point? And so it really required us to, again, look into, we have to get them an integration, right? We have to figure something out that's going to be scalable where they're not going to have to manually copying updates and pushing it through. But yeah, we needed to bring that information into Asana so executives could have that full central location visibility on what the work is. Again, just some different types of use cases, that would give you an option to look into how am I going to make this easy for, my team. The other one that I really like is the Airtable and Asana, because this was a team that said, we're set up in Airtable and we love Airtable. We work out of Airtable and we don't want to go to Asana. Thank you so much, Marquis. This really was representative of what it looked like, I would say, October in 2022 through probably June 2023, where you see this path, but it really wasn't a path. It was really somebody walking on an office door, knocking on the door, sending an email or sending a Slack. And that's where the time suckers are, right? And so we really needed to mitigate all of that and figure out how are we going to work efficiently. And so, again, Unito, it just really was the home for us. Another thing that we found was the customization in it, how you can customize it so well with fields and even mapping out all the values to know that you'll always get the right sync from one system to another to make sure that, those processes that count on those values run effectively. And so with Airtable, we were able to let the Academy team stay there, and the same thing, allow them to push their updates and their high-level milestones. So that was the different use case there, where they wanted to keep their work in Airtable, but really bring those high-level milestones into Asana, so the executive team, again, had what they needed, right? We're not going to ask the executive team to go into Jira and go into Airtable and Asana, right? We're only going to ask them to go in Asana. So how do we figure out to get all this data into for them, that being Asana.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Chaya. So just one more thing to just bring it home before we get into the demo. I'm going to switch over to my browser here. I'm going to walk you through just an integration between Jira and Asana, but really what this can look like in the real world. I mean, we're aiming to do more than just connecting tools, right? We want to, again, help you improve the way you're using your software. So one of the ways that we can see return on investment is by improved customer experience. You get a lot of feedback from your customers. We've heard that there's a level of clarity that's unlocked, right? By having better external services, we can see faster handoffs from sales to operations or delivery, right? We see fewer dropped balls. And of course, our customers are the ones that really benefit from those positive changes. We see better consistency around our data. We see better accuracy. We no longer have to wonder if the data is true or accurate, right? We have one source that connects information across tools. No more guessing which tasks had the latest version. We can make better decisions around a lot of our work, right? Because of that real-time visibility, we can make faster, better calls. And so for me as a leader, that is something that is very important to me in my business every single day, right? We see increased collaboration across the board and so many other great things. I mean, you can see them here on the screen, but just think about what the output will look like. Chaya just showed us before and after. Imagine having all these tools and not having a flow, not having an understanding of what the ideal outcome should be, and just kind of going about it however you feel it should go, because we know that that doesn't work because it does not scale. So I'm just going to switch over to my screen here a second. I'm going to pull up. There we go. So what I'm going to do for us, I'm going to I'm just going to switch over here. There we go. All right. So what I've done is I have Unito up here. I've already connected my two tools, but I'm going to go in and edit them so you can see what this looks like behind the scenes. Because unless you have set up Unito before, you might not know what that looks like. But when you get started, as you can see here, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes. When you're actually getting started, there are 5 boxes. The last one is literally create flow. So what this will look like, we'll go in and edit this for a second so you can see what I've already done. But the first step is really to sync your different tools. And so on one side, I've decided Asana is going to be the place where I'm going to start. In this case, because I've created a two-way sync, it won't really matter where the task starts. But inside of Asana, I've got my account I've connected here. Maybe I'll zoom this in just a little bit. My account connected here, and then I've connected the project, which I've just named Jira Asana Demo in this case. And on the other side, my secondary tool, I've connected Jira Cloud. And so in this case, I've connected it to my account and I've found the project on that side that this corresponds to. All right. You would typically see a next button right there, which would bring us to the way that we want the information to sync. And so this is really just high level data flow. How do we want this to work? And so by default, we have our two-way selected in the middle. We could choose to push one way or the other, but I'm going to keep it on two-way. What's nice about Unito is not only can we change the flow of the data at the project level or the task level, we can also change the flow at the field level, which we're going to do in another step here. And so I'm going to keep it on, again, two-way sync. I would have pressed next, and it would have asked me to create my rules. Okay, and so I want to kind of point something out here. Unito in itself is not a automation tool. You're not going to see if this, then that logic. This is a two-way data syncing tool. With that said, you can create conditions when you're setting up your different flows here so that you can tell Unito which information you want it to select before making any changes or syncing any data across platforms. So in this case, I've got this flow where in Asana, if a task originates there and it's going to Jira, if it is open, meaning it's incompleted, right? It's something that still needs to be done. And the creation date is on or after April 7th, 2025. It's going to select all of those tasks. If we wanted to pull over information from the very beginning of that project creation, we can do that. We can delete this line here, thus removing that condition. We can then go in and add additional rules. So if we only wanted it to select tasks where the assignee is, say, Marquis, right there, it would only select those tasks. If we wanted to go and add an additional condition where we only wanted to select the tasks that were in a certain section, and I don't have any sections in this project yet, then it would only select those. And so you can create those conditions so that Unito's not pulling over absolutely everything. And then we wanted to create a matching issue inside of Jira Cloud in the project we designated for that. And we want to keep them in sync. That's the key right there. So you're telling Unito the source of truth where you want everything, how you want everything matched up. And then on this level, we can choose here if we want to map over epics or tasks, but there's another stage where we can make that decision a little bit later. And then on the Jira side, so if we create a Jira issue first, it will do the same thing inside of Asana. And so within one space, we're setting conditions that no matter which side the task starts on, they're going to behave the exact same way. And so this is obviously just telling us that if something starts in Jira and meets these same conditions, that we want to create something in Asana and keep them in sync. Let's go back here. And then as far as listed rules there. As far as our field mapping goes, when we get started and when this window pops up, it will ask us if we want to map manually or if we want to do auto mapping. And so it will take into consideration all the different available fields that are in both sides. And so it's done a good job. What you're going to get with Unito versus any native integrations is a two-way sync on comments, a two-way sync on attachments, and a two-way sync on subtasks. I would say for this basic use case, that is going to be the biggest difference maker aside from the fact that this is, in fact, true two-way sync. And so if you're looking to maintain hierarchy in your projects, so task, subtask relationships, if you want to maintain comments so that teams can truly work back and forth, and then you want to make sure attachments are updated, you can make those changes. And then again, if you wanted subtask flow to go one way, I can simply change that at the field level. All right. I'm not going to go through this entire thing here, but if we wanted to, we could add additional fields. And with Unito, we can map an unlimited amount of fields. So section to section changes, status changes, any fields that we have added to our projects, we can make those changes. So I'm going to go sync now. That would
Kate, you
have
can
simply said
also, one thing I want to call out is you can also
yeah.
sync to existing fields, which helps you keep your hierarchy of reporting where you're not actually generating a new field every time you're creating a new sync like you do in Asana, which was another blocker. Yeah.
So right. Thank you for that. So what I've done before here, just to connect our tools here, is I created an issue, right? So this came from Asana, went over to Jira. Forgive me, it was the other way around. It came from Jira and went to Asana. So I'm going to do Asana task one. I'm going to go and I'm going to populate that, put in my name, put in the date there, and keep in mind that any fields that we added to this project, so as an example, if I said Jira status for whatever reason, on track, at risk, and we had mapped that in Unito, whenever this changes on one side, it would update on the Jira side. I'm also going to add an attachment in here so we can see that working. Please excuse the mess on my desktop. It's mostly screenshots. I create a lot of screenshots throughout the day that I just created. There it is. We'll pull that in. I'm going to create a subtask here as well. I'm going to call this subtask 1. Assign that to Marquis for tomorrow. And then I'm going to add a comment here. Perfect. So all my information's here. My marketing team's working. We're going through our different stages. This is a task that's in progress. Mind you, I would have to go back to Unito just to sync those changes. It is syncing right now, as you can see, but any changes that I made should be updating them, and I haven't actually done them in Jira, but let's just go over to the Jira side now, and we'll see what's going on there. There we go. Give this a quick refresh. So there we have it. We've got our Asana task 1 has come over. We've got our attachment here ready to go. We've got our comment here ready to go as well. And I think we're still waiting on our subtask to come over. So let's create one from Jira as a child issue. We'll create that. I'll add a comment in from Jira, and then I'll get another attachment here to add in. Perfect. Date here as well to the 21st. Let's save all those changes. And let's go over back to Asana. Let's see what it did here for us. Give it a quick refresh. All right, so we've got Jira subtask that came over already. Perfect. We've got our comment that I sent over a couple minutes ago. It looks like we're still waiting on our secondary attachment to come in here. Let's give it another quick refresh.
And Marquis, this was huge. I mean, this ability to get the creative images coming in directly into the comments, it was huge for the team, as opposed to the links, even from back in the day with Unito, remember? Right, like when we moved. So, this beautiful, comment we see with the image showing up, we could take for granted, but there was a lot of work that went into that, and really has lots of am I trying to say, benefits to the teams that are working in Asana or the other system if it's coming from Asana.
Absolutely. Yeah, couldn't agree more. And what's nice about this, I mean, I'm showing you things like subtasks easily coming over. I'm showing you how attachments and comments easily flow over, right? Right. When we're setting this up in the native Asana space, right, we know we can't sync subtasks. We know we can't have attachments. We know that, comments can't come over, or I should even go back and say with the attachments, there's a caveat there. You can sync attachments from Asana to Jira in this case, but only at the time that the task is created. So any attachments that are uploaded after the fact, they're not going to move over there. And so you're constantly wondering, where's that information? Am I out of the loop? And rather than having opportunities where, tasks can fall through the cracks, we want to make sure that everything is obviously all buttoned up. All right. So there's so much more we can show you. We can show you with Unito, but I know with the time we gotta make sure we respect everyone's time here. But we just wanted to give you just a quick overview of what this could look like in your space when you're using tools like this or considering any type of integration. So I'm going to switch back over to our slides here.
Okay, this kind of makes me think too about enablement. Watching you demo this, I'm used to being in it myself and not watching someone else and seeing you do it. It just reminds me of how easy it is to use, and that was even one of the requirements we were looking at, right? Because not only does something like coding, Kata, Zapier come into, it's requiring more technical skills to roll it out, but it also then limits who's able to actually use the tool. When you roll something out like Unito, right, you can expect any user to be able to self-service themselves and establish that connection and set up a workflow for themselves, just like you would for them to start their own project in Asana and create their own rules. So that's really another advantage of itself, and then they're able to work with Unito, of course, to get the support they need. So that was also huge for us choosing Unito.
Perfect, yeah. And one thing that I didn't mention earlier with the different versions of like even Jira that you can sync. I mean, if you're using the Asana native integration, and for anyone watching, like I love Asana, they're our key partner. I would never say anything negative about them. But we're limited to Jira Cloud, right? What we can plug into. So if you're using data server, service management, or Jira server, any of the other million Jira piece of software, I'm forgetting them all right now, right? You're gonna get those options to you on the Unito platform, whereas again, we're restricted on the Asana side. There was a question here from Terrence. So is it possible to ever be out of sync? And is that resolved automatically? Good question, Terrence. With every single flow that's created, there's an audit log. And so what you saw from, or what you hopefully saw from my demonstration here, was that when you go into the flow, you can see that the flow is healthy or the flow is in sync, meaning it's syncing right now, or there is something you need to address. And so as long as the flow is healthy, it means that everything is in sync. There might be delays depending on the amount of information you're pulling over, syncing at a time, but you'll be able to go through the audit of each individual flow just to confirm and validate those syncs as they're coming across. So to answer your question, everything will always be in sync. The state will just depend on the information you're pulling over, but it will be resolved automatically. Thank you for that.
And I'll just add a little bit in my experience, because you're right, it does most of the time, it will. So you log in and you look at your flows and it looks like, oh, it says unable to sync, big X, scary. Most of the time it's resolved automatically. There is a very, very, very few cases where it does require you to resync to the administrative account to kind of resync the flows, but it's not often that happens, but that one resync does it for the whole organization. So that means it will kind of reset all of, not like a real reset, but it kind of connects for all of those flows connected under that account. So if we're talking about Asana, for example. So, but very, very rare. And if you're ever unsure, what we've done is reached out to Unito to figure out what that was it something we actually needed to address or not.
Perfect. We've got another question here from Amy. Do due dates on the parent task and subtasks stay in sync? That's a good question. You don't see it now, but I had changed the due date of the parent task and the subtask on the Jira side. They have updated now, but like in Asana, unless there's a dependency between that parent task and that subtask, they're not going to stay in sync automatically. So that's like a fundamental tool thing. The Unito integration won't fix that or won't solve for that. We'd have to kind of write that into the automation and build those dependencies. So the shorter answer would be no, but that would be the why. We've got another question here. Okay, self-healing automatically detects loops, resolves conflicts on the field and subfield levels, and retries syncs to keep workflows running most naturally. I'm assuming that is from a Unito help doc. So great. I wanted to thank everyone for being here today. Again, thank you for sitting through our technical difficulties. Appreciate your time and your questions here. And so if you do have any questions, information's on the screen. You can reach out to us, visit unito.io, sign up. I always say, if you want to see how it works, sign up for a free account, try it yourself, put it through its paces. And if you want to see a demo, you can visit unito.io/demo. But Chaya, do you want to say anything before we sign off?
I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone wants to reach out. Thanks for having me. Thanks for joining, everyone. Really appreciate you hanging in there.
Awesome. And thank you to our partners at Unito for creating such a great tool and allowing us the opportunity to be here to share in our experience with everybody else. Enjoy the day, everyone. We'll see you all.
Thank you.
Bye.